30, we're going to record. Go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome
Morning.
to our Tuesday Bible study, and we're so excited because we have our dear friend Kumukimo Keaolana joining us this morning, and he's going to give his mana'o on the doxology. So, for those of you that don't know Kimo, I'm going to give a small introduction again on him, but I think it's worth listening to. Um, Kimo Keaolana recently completed 6 years as Kumu Ike Hawaii and Kumu Hula at the Punahou schools. His career spans over 22 years at Honolulu Community College, Pupi'olani Community College, and the University of Hawaii at Manoa. He's a recipient of numerous awards and accolades and serves on various boards and commissions, including the Kamehameha Celebration Commission, the Hawaiian Academy of Recording Arts, and the Lani Kuhonua Cultural Institute, the Mary Kavena Pukui Cultural Preservation Society. So we want to thank you, Kimo, for joining us today and sharing your mana'o on the topic of the doxology.
Well, it is indeed my pleasure. And I'm wearing my Punahou t-shirt this morning because because my take on the doxology is going to be Punahou centric. And I got to Punahou in 2019. And when I got to Punahou, I met some very, very outstanding people. And it was such a different place from where I've been working. I worked for the state of Hawaii, for 30, at least 32 years. And going to Punahou was such a huge transformation. For those of you who work for the state of Hawaii, well, you know what the working culture is like. But when I went to Punahou, these people were so kind. They were so thoughtful. They were so smart. They were so helpful. And I was thinking to myself, what's wrong with these people? What do they want? Because when I worked for the state, they weren't really those things. And so I thought, these people had an ulterior motive, or what are they up to? But actually, they were genuinely kind and thoughtful and helpful and smart. So that was part of the culture of Punahou. And so I think what I'm going to share this morning is a whole part of that culture. I did do a slide deck, and I'm going to try and see if I could share it with you. But I don't know how successful I'm going to be at that. Let's see. I see a share, but okay. Okay, I'm going to send you a request for it. I just okay. Okay, good. Okay, now I don't know how this is going to work out. We're going to try. We're going to try. Okay, it's not. I never did this before. So this is really, really interesting to me. Okay, hang on. Hang on. Because a lot of this stuff that I'm going to share comes from Emma McGuire. And Emma McGuire, I don't know if you folks might know her mother. Her mother is
Vicky Hollinger.
Vicky Hollinger.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the share right there. Okay, what am I doing? I don't even know where I am at. I don't even know where I'm at. Okay. Vicky Hollinger is a 1959 Punahou alum, and she is well, she actually went to Kamehameha first, then she went over to Punahou, and she's a musician, lovely lady. And so Emma is her daughter who still teaches at Punahou, and she teaches Olelo Hawaii to second and third graders. And let's see, I want to share this. And it's not, I don't know how. Okay, how Oli, I sent you the slide deck, because you are plan B
Oh, okay.
and
Very
actually
good.
my plan A because I'm a techno idiot. I don't know how to do this.
So we see your slide is up. Just gotta present.
Oh, is
Um,
it? Is it
yep.
up?
So click on the slideshow. There we
Okay,
go.
I'm on. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Okay.
We see it. It says
Wow.
Aloha Mai, and it has all
Okay.
the night blooming series
Oh, this is
of
I'm so
Punahou.
thrilled. This is the first time I'm doing this. Okay, and I'm glad you focused on my first.
My
Okay.
God,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, and this is our beautiful Pua Panini o Kapunaho, the night blooming series. And the wall that it's on is actually named the Ka'ahumanu Wall. And this Ka'ahumanu Wall came up at the order of Queen Ka'ahumanu, and it's going to be finished after Ka'ahumanu dies. And it expanded from a Pu'awaina, Punch Bowl, all the way to Kamo'iliili. And Queen Ka'ahumanu wanted this wall put up because all of the feral cattle and the horses and everything was running onto Punahou and eating all the missionaries' crops. And so that infuriated Ka'ahumanu. But Ka'ahumanu was a very early, and we all know this, I think. Yeah, she was a very early convert to Christianity because of the Reverend Hiram Bingham. And what had happened was Ka'ahumanu took very, very ill, and the Hawaiian doctors could not heal her. And so when the Reverend Hiram Bingham and his wife Sybil said, "We'll pray for you," she got healed. And so that's why she swore to Christianity. And that's why this land of Punahou was actually turned over to the care of Reverend Hiram Bingham. But I actually went to the American Federation of Foreign Missionaries or whatever that group is called. And so this Ka'ahumanu wall that fronts Punahou School is the only last remaining remnant of the wall. And this is one of the things that makes Punahou School a National Historic Site. And the Pua Panini o Kapunahou, the night blooming cereus that we see, was actually plants that were given to Sybil Bingham. And so she planted them there. And so wherever you see, a night blooming cereus anywhere in Hawaii, it came from Punahou School, from this wall. And so with this lovely burst of beauty, I greet you with a warm aloha mai from Punahou. And so what we're looking at here is Kapunahou itself. It's the real spring. And why Ka'ahumanu wanted this land that actually belonged to the high chiefess Queenie Liliha, whose husband was Boki. And actually, Liliha did not want to relinquish this land. She loved Punahou. And Liliha herself was powerful, but she didn't want to tangle with Ka'ahumanu because she was powerful too. And so she was kind of coerced in giving over the land. And when I interviewed for this job at Punahou School, they asked, at the end of the interview, "Oh, you have any questions?" I said, "Yeah. Can you tell me where the Punahou Spring is?" And they told me, "It's right here where the Thurston Chapel is." And I thought to myself, what a beautiful thing to have on the spring is a holy place, a chapel. And they were happy that I thought that it was becoming. Well, right now we don't have any lily plants in the spring because throughout the years it was causing the spring to have too many nutrients. And then some lovely people put fish in there and turtles and all kinds of stuff. So for the past several years, they've been trying to clean it out and clear it out. And I think one of the wonderful things about Apunol School is that the water that actually comes from this spring is the water that we drink with every day, and everything and it supplies all of our water needs on campus. And so that's why Kaahumanu wanted this land to be given to Reverend Hiram Bingham and to start a mission station. So it wasn't to start a school right away; it was to start a mission station. And so this is a lovely picture showing you folks the actual spring of Kapunaho. Now in all through as far as we understand, from the time that Reverend Hiram Bingham was affiliated with Punahou School, Punahou has always sang the doxology. And this is a very, very short clip of our students singing it. And so if I could indulge all of us in the angelic voices of our students.
Kimo, there's no sound.
In order for us to be able to hear it, you have to click on an extra button, Chemo, and I'm not sure where that is
Okay,
on
that's
your
okay then.
screen, but we can look it up later though, so you don't stress over that.
Okay, great.
And put
Okay,
the
now.
link in. I go see if I can find the link
Yeah,
in
then later
YouTube.
on, Haoli, you can share with everybody, huh?
Yeah, I go
Yeah,
look for that link in
this
YouTube.
slide deck. That would be wonderful. Okay, well, it's on YouTube anyway. And how come this damn thing is okay? Now, where on our campus, where the Binghams actually lived is now being occupied by the Merikavena Pukui Learning Commons. And we are just in the rollout phase of that Learning Commons now. The Merikavena Pukui Learning Commons replaces the Cook Learning Commons, Academy Learning Commons that used to be there. And what we're looking at is a very, very old picture of where the Binghams lived. And it says the original Bingham home, Oahu College grounds. So Puno School was known as Oahu College until 1907. But Ka'ahumanu, she was so smart. She had the Binghams, she had a nice, hale built for them on the grounds here. But then she built a hale right where the chapel is now, but a little bit high on higher ground. And I think Kahumanu did that so she could watch these howlies. I mean, even though they're missionaries and good people, but she still wanted to keep an eye on them. Isn't that lovely? So we know that Kahumanu like to micromanage. That's so lovely. And so that this is the plaque that's still there. This is an up close, and it's the memorial tablet. And even though we had created the Mary Kavena Pukui Learning Commons, this rock is still in place to still honor the site of Reverend Hiram Bingham and his wife Sybil, where they had their home. Now, when I got to Puno School, as I said, was in 2019, and then I found out that there was a journey that was taken by some Punahou educators to actually go and track and trace the travels of Reverend Hiram Bingham to Hawaii. So a small group of Punahou educators, went because 2020 was the bicentennial of the missionaries arriving in Hawaii. And Punahou School took that quite seriously because of our missionary beginnings. And so there's going to be a handful of educators in Punahou that's going to go abroad to see where, Henry Opukaha'ia and Thomas Hopu and William Kanui and John Honoli'i and Hume, who is the son of King Kamuli'i, where they went and where they were educated and how they had piqued the interest of these Haole missionaries from New England to come here to Hawaii with their new religion. And one of the things that not only at Punahou School, but a lot of people don't understand or don't realize that in 1819, the Ainoa was already declared. So King Kamehameha II, Liholiho, had already declared the old gods and religion power already, legally. And so by the time the missionaries get here, many months later in 1820, they came to Hawaii with no religion. So it was really, really, I don't think it can ever be called a coincidence. It is absolutely meant to be on the whole universal scheme of everything. And so let's see. Oh, these are our lovely educators who went. And I want to thank Emma McGuire for sharing this picture with me. And so if I don't know, you folks might know some of these people. So from left to right, that's she was a former librarian at Punahou. That is Dita Ramler. And then I think you folks know Lauren Buck Maderas. She is so lovely. I just love working with her. She is such a beautifully, wonderfully creative woman with this beautiful energy and mind and heart. Anytime she wanted anything, I would do it for her. She was our former chaplain from kindergarten to grade 5. And then we have Malia Ane, who was a former teacher at Punahou School. The Anes have been with Punahou School forever and 10 years. And then there is that lovely Emma McGuire, who shared a lot of these pictures and stuff with me on their journey. And then we have Jason Abdul from our IT department. And so this photo was taken in 2016 in front of Moku Aikawa Church in Kailua Kona. And so I understand that their journey began here in Kailua Kona as they wanted to find out about more about Hiram Bingham. Let's see. And this is the Yale University archives. And of course, you can see on the left the wonderful and effervescent and vivacious chaplain Lauren Buck Maderas as she discovers something quite delightful. I miss her. I really do. This is what they found in there. And this is the cover. And it says here a cover of a notebook. And it says the original compositions of the first attempts at musical composition in the Hawaiian language. And it's dated in 1828. And how old you had discovered some stuff too, yeah, on your journey, yeah? Stuff like this, yeah?
Yeah. And I shared that last week. That first hymnal printed in 1823 and 1826 that had the original version of O'Nani, inspired by the Tahitian translation. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you look at our this is the doxology that came out of that book. And it says, Himeni Ivakalua. And if you look really closely, you're going to see the V instead of the W, because now we use the W. And then you're going to see the R instead of the L. And so it appears that, well, even at that time, Hawaiians were still using, a hard V sound and an R sound. So it's interesting to find out, linguistically how things have morphed yet to how we speak in Hawaiian today. And if we look at the words, they're quite different from what we sing today. The first line is Ho'onani ika makua mau. And the last time I spoke with you, we talked about that term makua, meaning a provider. Not so much a father, but one who provides. And a father would be makuakane, and a mother would be makuahine, or even uncle is makuakane, and aunt is makuahine. We talked about that last time. So in the Hawaiian mind, it is a provider. And that provider, it doesn't matter what sex that provider is. And that's why we have the pronoun oya, he or she, and that didn't matter. And it says, meka kabaiti apaupu. Instead of using the term keiki, the term kamaiti was used. And it's pretty much the same thing. But a lot of times when we spoke with older Hawaiians, the term keiki has more of an endearment to them. And it says me ka'uhane maitai no. And we know that maitai is maikai, which is good or beautiful. It says e ho'olea mauaku maukako. And ho'olea to rejoice in you. And then here's the second verse that kind of freaked out our wonderful people from Punahou. They took delight in, wow, there's 2 verses to this song. Nobody sing them. And he has over e hi'ilani yaku ho'i oko. A kia kua kahi kolu mau. Well, it says kahi kolu with the R, but we know that's kahi kolu and the Trinity. Then Jehovah nani vale no. Kia kua ola o keao. So beautiful. One of the things that I was in chapel at Punahou one day, for the little guys, they had put the words to the ho'onani I kamakua mau, the only the first verse and then the translation. And when it came to the last, like kokeala, it was translated as this day and that day, meaning every day. And I had asked somebody who translated this, and they quite did not know, because in my understanding, kea'au is this earthly life. Kelao is the life to come, that realm, the heavens where the saints are and the apostles and all the good people are. So that's to my understanding what kelao is and keao. Well, anywho, here we go. Okay, our wonderful, lovely middle school music teacher, Lauren Kanoilani Chang Williams, she notated the music. This is her musical notation. And she takes the words that Hiram Bingham had from his book, and she has them here on her music, as well as the way we sing it today. And then she has a 4th verse there, which was composed by Haunani Bernardino. And you brought that out too, Yahao Oli. Haunani Bernardino. You folks sing Haunani Bernardino's verse too. You folks
we were exposed to it last week. I shared it, and I think we're thinking we should normalize it and bring it to Kaumakapili, because at Kauai they do sing that second verse. So maybe Kahu will print it. We'll consider printing it in our bulletin when we sing Ho'onani each Sunday, and then we can start to introduce it to our congregation. Yeah, it's beautiful, the words.
Yeah, no, I was surprised because I didn't know that existed until I went to Punahou. And Kealohira Poon, she's our lead at Kuai Hilania. And then
Mai tai.
she has a picture of Haunani Bernardino by her desk. And I asked her one day, how come we get Haunani Bernardino over here? And then she told me that it was Haunani Bernardino that taught her Hawaiian at UH Hilo. And she said Haunani was such an inspiration to her. And then she shared this verse that Haunani had written, because I didn't know it existed. And I've never heard it sung. And so I think it would be really nice to bring it out again. I didn't know Kawai Ha'o sang it either.
Yeah.
So it's good to know.
I shared with the group last week that when I was at OHA, Haunani Apoliana was the chairperson of the board of trustees, and her and Haunani B were close, yeah. So she
Yes.
would make sure that we always sang that second verse in all our staff meetings, and that we all knew it. And my boss at that time, my supervisor was Mona Bernardino, Haunani's
Oh,
baby sister, and so we got the words and the translation and her story, her mo'olelo, why she translated it, and she passed away a year after she translated that second verse, wrote that second verse, and so we sing it in our halau and our ohana too, because of that gift from Haunani. Just mahalo her.
oh, beautiful. And now we get some more over here. Isn't that lovely? Maybe we should sing all 4 Pauku. That would drive everybody crazy. I think that would be fun.
The Hi'ilani verse is actually the original first verse from the original manuscript that we were looking at last week. It was the first translation in 1823
Yeah.
with William Ellis, the missionary from London that came with the Tahitian um, missionaries, like I shared with you. I'll go share with you the slide again with all those slides with Haunani's Mo'olelo and all of that. One day. I'll just send that to you. Kalamai, everyone. I have to leave you. I have a board of trustees meeting with all my other missionary descendants at the mission houses, including the Bingham's descendants and my
How
kupuna,
lovely.
the Chamberlains.
Oh,
I descend from the Chamberlains, yeah, who were on that same ship with Hiram and Sybil and all of them. So I gotta go fulfill my duty, my kuleana for my kupuna.
how lovely. Well, aloha
Love
kuya
you all.
lako, yeah.
Aloha nui. Mahalo nui a
Mahalo.
pala.
Aloha. Okay, so here we have a collection of photos on the left and words on the right. Okay, on the left is Thomas Ken, who had composed the original doxology in 1674. And I think a lot of times we think that there's only one doxology, but actually there's many. And what we know as the doxology here in Hawaii is Ho'onani I Kamakua Mau. And so it starts from Thomas Ken, praise God from whom all blessings flow. That's him. And then Hiram Bingham, who puts Hawaiian to Thomas Ken's doxology. And we believe it was written sometime between 1825 and 1839. Hiram Bingham is going to leave Hawaii in 1840 because his wife Sybil, she's not going to be doing too well with their health. So they go back home to New England. And then in 1841, Punahou School gets started. And from our understanding is, even though Hiram Bingham left, Ho'onani I Kamakua Mau was still a part of everyday life at Punahou School. And even in my own classes at Punahou School, uh, I would start off my Hawaiian language classes with all of my students saying the Lord's Prayer, yeah, in Hawaiian, Kapulia Kahaku, followed by Ho'onani I Kamakua Mau. And that's how I would start my classes. And to remind our students that Punahou was founded upon prayer. So that's how we know that prayer is very powerful. And I don't know if I had brought this up the last time we shared time together, but when I brought these young men from Papakolea together before the lay draping ceremony at Kamehameha's statue, I had told all the boys, "Come on, we're going pule," and one Hawaiian young man asked me, and he was very sincere about it because he didn't know what pule meant. And he figured, well, the kids from Papakolea, he was kind of like darker than me, and he's Hawaiian, but he didn't know what pule meant. And that was really, really an eye opener and interesting to me. And so when we got all the young men around and we were under a beautiful monkey pod tree, well, I'd explain to them whatever I would make sense to them what pule is, and understanding that there is a great, great power that creates everything from the skies. I mean, gosh, humans cannot do this. And even the tree that we were under and the leaves and even said, the fleas, but maybe not the fleas, but everything is beautiful was created by this a great power. And so that's who we're talking to. And you don't have to say, oh, show me, and that's very Western. It's no, but everything that we see of beauty is an expression of the great mana, our great God. And air is a perfect example of, well, we don't see air, but we know it's there. And so when we come together, we're going to pule and commune with that great mana, that great power. And so I asked them to hold hands, and I said, well, we hold hands, to connect our collective energy. It's like getting a plug and putting it into the wall. You get the energy, and that's what you're doing by touching each other. You're plugging each other in with your hands, and so it kind of made sense to these young men from the Roosevelt High School football team in Papakolea. And so I just hope that they would be inspired to on their own, yeah, talk to God. And so being Hiram Bingham and his wife, clearly understood that to communicate with God musically is something that is very, very special. The doxology, praise God from whom all blessings flow, is a very important part of hymnody to the Protestant faith. And so Hiram Bingham put these words together. Now, we're not really sure whether his first two verses that you're looking at in blue were drafts or actually what he meant as final renditions, because we don't sing those words that appear in blue right there. And so what we sing is what we see in black below. And so we don't know whether the blue words are actually drafts. But I think it's still exciting to know that he did concoct and compose a second verse. And I tried to look, but I couldn't find the English doxology, a second verse. I only know the English words as is commonly sung today. But here we have it. And it's so nice to know that Haunani Bernardino was so inspired to compose her own in red. And it would be good to I wish Hawaii would have stuck around a little bit more so we could find out. But I think by the time the doxology comes to us, and we know that prior to the coming of foreign ships, musically, all that Hawaiians heard were chants. Then as ships from other places started to come, Hawaiians were exposed to other kinds of music, sea shanties, and folk songs, not necessarily church songs at first. The church songs are going to come later because we know that, sailors are some ungodly people. And so they used to love to carouse and drink and everything else. So they wouldn't really be singing songs of worship until the missionaries get here in 1820. And so it's going to be of that kind of music that's going to be quite influential in Hawaiian composition. The Hawaiians have always thought that in mele or in music, the words were most important. The musical setting was merely a vehicle to move words. But when Hawaiians really heard and listened to music that came from churches, the way the notes soared with the 8-note scale and the fluidity of melody line really intrigued Hawaiians. And so they paid close attention to it. And so I think the words became more meaningful in those respects. And to ho'onani, or give beauty. That's what ho'onani is, yeah, to beautify, to bring beauty to the everlasting provider. This one makua. And we talked about this the last time, yeah? Hawaiians had the kinio keakua, the many, 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 many gods. But now here is all these gods rolled up into one makua. And this makua is makua mau, an eternal God. Ke keiki me ka'uhane no. Of course, keiki is Jesus, the living Christ, me ka'uhane, and that is the Holy Spirit. And These are concepts that are not foreign to Hawaiians, even in ancient traditional Hawaiian life, especially the uhane part, the spiritual part. Hawaiians long understood that there is a physical entity to anything, and then there's going to be a spiritual. In the second line, we have kekeiki, the physical aspect, and then the uhane, the spiritual aspect. Even in ordinary persons like you, me, everybody, Hawaiians always understood there's a kino pa'a, our physical beings, and there's a kino wailua, that shadowy, ghostly being. So all of us here at this meeting right now, our kino pa'a, our physical selves, is united with our kino wailua. And so when we make or perish, our kino pa'a, our physical selves will remain, and the kino wailua is going to go. And this is how we explain ghosts, yeah, and spiritual beings in the Hawaiian culture. So the second line makes perfect sense to Hawaiians. Keiki, the physical, Jesus, Mekauhane, the Holy Spirit. And then we go back into the third line, Keakua Mau. In Hawaiian traditions, when we see it written, we see akua written in a lowercase letter. So that can be any akua from traditional Hawaiian times. When we see it written in a capital letter, like this in the doxology, we know that is the Christian God, and it is the akua mau. Again, the eternal, everlasting God. One of the most interesting things about traditional Hawaiian religion is that if you prayed to a God and that God was ineffectual, you can get rid of that God. Isn't that fabulous? Well, you're not helping me, so I'm gonna get rid of you. I'm gonna find another God. But in this Christian sense, this God never fails you. It's an akua mau, an enduring God, an eternal God, a forever God. This is what separates the Christian God from all the other gods of Hawaiian tradition. This akua will not fail you. And ho'omai ka'ipu, we give thanks to it all. This eternal God, this eternal provider, this eternal keiki, Jesus, and the eternal Holy Spirit. Ko kea'au, in the realm of this earth, because au is world or earth, ko kela'au, kela meaning that, ko kela'au, that world too. And then we end with an amene. So I think in the Hawaiian psyche and sense, this Himeni Ho'onani, the doxology, it made perfect sense to the Hawaiians because it's still connected to where they thought and visualized Akua to be in the traditional Hawaiian sense or even in the Christian sense. Yeah. What do we have next? Okay. That's my show for today. This is the slideshow. I'll put back here. Does anybody have any questions you'd like to ask me?
Kimo, this is Lorna. I have one question. You know, when Hiram Bingham wrote this doxology, um, did he have the help of some of those Hawaiian scholars that traveled to New England with him?
Oh,
Or did
that's a good question. And we understand that he must have.
Mm,
And it's because he had no knowledge of the Hawaiian language.
right.
But with those Hawaiian young men there,
Hmm.
he was able to at least familiarize himself with Hawaiian, because his Hawaiian was pretty good.
Hmm.
When you look at it. I mean, as a teacher, you always want to take a red pen and say, what's wrong with this? I want to correct this. But when you look at it grammatically, it's grammatically perfect.
Mhm.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure if he had what Hawaiians would do is when you compose something, you have it buck up, or somebody that would with a critical eye take a
Mm.
look at it and then guide you into another direction or correct it. And I don't know whether he had done that or not. He might have.
Kind of like an editor or
Yes,
okay,
yes, kind of like an editor.
okay. Because Haoli did mention the fact, I think he did mention that last week about these young men who, or maybe you had mentioned it earlier, about the need and the support that these young men gave these missionaries and helping them to be sure that the Olelo was at the highest level, yeah, and that
Hmm.
and that they it was authentic Hawaiian and not just words that kind of filled up space on the page.
Yeah, it had to be the real deal.
Yeah.
Because I understand that Hiram Bingham, even when we look at Makua Layana, oh, his mastery of Hawaiian, oh gosh, it was out of this world. But Hiram Bingham and them, they learned Hawaiian at a pretty good high level.
Hmm.
And so when you look at their use of words, it was of a solid order. So these young men evidently, well, you have Kaumakapili's son there. He's the son of a chief. And so they knew a Hawaiian that was of a higher order.
Hmm.
And so I understand that that's the kind of language they must have used amongst them. A real good Hawaiian. This is good Hawaiian, man.
Hmm. Thank you, Kima, for that insight.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Timo, I just want to mahalo you for enabling us to um, have a better understanding of how our kupuna back then were so readily enabled to embrace what, who our God truly
Mm,
is. You know, the things that you've shared in terms of how, for instance, with Ka'ahumanu, it resonated with her because she basically had that understanding that there's one supreme God. Um, but I really appreciate you teaching us today about how we can know the notion of the what separates all of the other gods from our forever God. And I'm just wondering if you know, as a Hawaiian scholar, in your teaching and even in the teaching that your colleagues at in higher education when they teach about Hawaiian history, Hawaiian culture, Hawaiian language, etc. How does that kind of message get shared with Hawaiians of today? Because the last time we met with you, we people like myself and Haoli, we struggle with that because we work with Hawaiians that are not Christian
mhm,
and continue to, make us feel like, it's unfortunate that, we were so influenced that now we have to be like the Western, understand the Western God with when when you just explained it last time and today and even in other other times at other times for people like Haoli and myself, um, we appreciate it so much because for us it gives us a better understanding. It's more of a concrete understanding of no, that's not true. That you know, being a Christian is not a sellout to colonization. You know, I don't know. That's what I wanted to thank you for. But then I don't know if you can expand on that or if you as a scholar, um, have had to clarify or made, you know, you get made to feel that you have to explain yourself over and over again, or what is it like for you?
Oh, wow. I mean, what you just said is really powerful. And I know exactly what you mean. And I've never really come into this situation. And no, this is really important. Um, I've never really sat in a Hawaiian language class or a Hawaiian culture class. Uh, when I went to the university and the college, my major was in education and history. So I didn't take Hawaiian. I wanted to take Hawaiian, but I tested with Kavena Johnson and also Hua Hopkins. And I couldn't take Hawaiian because it classified me as a native speaker. So I took Samoan instead. And we had um well, I think well, okay, I think when I tell people about Hawaiian things, or it's not really so much from I'm sitting in a classroom. It was just from waking up and being with Hawaiians and doing Hawaiian things, and it was that kind of life. And so I think that my discoveries about Hawaiian culture and Christianity are just concoctions that come out of my own head after thinking about things. And I think Hawaiians today that you're describing, you know, oh, you can't be Christian and Hawaiian and blah blah blah. They don't understand the depth and the breadth of their Hawaiian culture, and especially the Hawaiian religious culture. They have very, I think they have a romanticized version of what Hawaiians actually lived like before the coming of Christianity. They don't really understand the mindset what was going into the heads of our kupuna. And you know, our kupuna lived and was regulated by the moon cycles. And if you understood the moon cycles and the kapu days that people had to observe, and the religious obligations that the Hawaiian people had, they would not want to live in old Hawaii. It was so restrictive. And every morning, like when the men woke up, the men folk would go to the halemua where their family gods were, and they would pray to the family gods and give offerings, and you know, for bountiful harvest and all these other things. And it is true that when a akua became kind of powerless or wasn't answering their prayers, they could actually dispense with that akua and pick up another one. But when the Christian God came, they understood that this is the akua mau, the forever God, the the everlasting God. Queen Kaahumanu understood this when her own kahuna could not heal her. But when Hiram Bingham and Sybil Bingham prayed for her, she became strong and well. That's when she understood that the Hawaiian gods were not doing anything for her. But this holy God is. This is the one I want. Quick, hurry up, baptize me. Get that Bible going. Let's go. This is how I think Kaahumanu felt. And it was very
Mhm.
Hawaiian. I'm gonna get rid of these old gods. They ain't doing nothing for me. But this new God
Mm.
is. My grandmother, my father's mother, oh, she had stuff wrong with her stomach. And I think she belonged to Kaumakapili Church. I'm not sure. But anywho, she had all kinds of stuff wrong with her stomach. There was Reverend Lockbaum and his wife that said, oh, we're gonna pray for you. And when they prayed for her, her stomach ailments went away. So she became a staunch member of the Jesus Coming Soon Church on School Street. You know, the church with a big neon sign, and that's my grandmother. No, I tell you, she gave everything for that church. And her husband, my grandfather, he was kind of well to do. He had property and, you know, all kinds of stuff. She gave all her She gave all her money to that church. She bought the bus for that church. She bought Pastor William Hahn's suits. I mean, every damn thing. My father's sister, his adopted sister, Auntie Daisy, she played organ and piano for the church. And then was Lady Kamana. She said that I was baptized in that church too. I was baptized 3 times, you know. This is interesting. That's another Zoom. But so my own grandmother, she switched over to Jesus coming soon. And so I think that's very Hawaiian. You know, when this ain't gonna help me, I'm going, man. I'm gonna change sides. Hawaiians are like that too. And but even though, you know, some Hawaiians they still hung on to remnants of the old culture, like offering their prayers to Pele and different family gods. Who was I speaking to? Oh, I was speaking with Dodie Brown. Dodie Brown is Auntie Pat Bacon's daughter. Okay, she lived in the same house as her grandmother, Mrs. Pukui. And so I was reminiscing about Dodie's father, Uncle George Bacon. And I said, you know what your father told me one time? You better tell, you know, a great grandmother, Pa'ahana Wiggin was Mary Kavena Pukui's mother. You better tell great grandma 2 hours in advance when you're going to be leaving the house to go someplace. Because when she accepted Christianity, she didn't throw away all the old gods, she added them all in. So she prayed for about a couple hours to get in all the akuas and everything else, yeah, under, God. Of course, you're gonna start off with the puleakahaku, yeah, eko maku maku. And then after that, great God, then you're gonna come to, Pele and everybody else after. Took her like a couple hours. So, it was just a combining of her Hawaiian gods that she was raised with and accepting the new Christian God. And well, this is God Almighty. This is fine. As long as everybody comes under him, I'm fine. I'm good. Yeah. But it took a long time, to switch. Go ahead.
Oh, mahalo kumu for making us more aware. Oftentimes, we seem to place the missionaries and what they were able to do as far as putting the Olelo Hawaii into a written form. But I had in the chat, I sent Noka Paipala Hemolele, which is the making of the Hawaiian Bible by Jeffrey Lyons. And he gives a detailed expression of who was involved in writing or completing the Paipala. And also he gives credit to David Malo, Thomas Hopu, who was one of those, of course, Ioane Papai'i, and it says that the scholarly quality of those that were a part of the interpreting the Olelo into a written form was of the highest quality as demonstrated by these people. So, the Hawaiians had a great important role that they played. And as you had mentioned, that they were of a scholarly level of their writing, and even what Makualayana, that he contributed so much to the in hymnology as well as spreading the gospel to the people of Hawaii Island. Yes, yeah. But mahalo for the mana'o you shared. Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. But those were the scholarly minds at the time, yeah. And I think Helena Kaupu'ili, she does a real good job on the historic aspects of the Hawaiian Bible and the pieces that came together to create it. But well, the Hawaiian language that we know today, that was a reduction of the sounds that was actually spoken at that time. So they eliminated like the V that you saw, the R, B's, T's, other sounds too. And they needed to have a written language to teach the people so that they can receive teachings, to read the Bible, to understand it. But then, it was, and this is what Auntie Edith McKenzie said. She said the greatest gift that the missionaries gave us was the gift of writing. Without that gift of writing, genealogies would not have been written down. Histories would not have been written down. Our bits of our own culture would not have been written down had not the missionaries taught us how to write. And then Mele books. People have kept their own books of Mele, chants, and it's all because of this writing system. And reading allowed the everybody to learn. That's why we had so many Hawaiian language newspapers.
Mhm.
People just wanted to read more and more about things, whether it was their own stories or somebody else's. They had this curiosity for learning, which was absolutely beautiful. And so we can thank the missionaries for that. The missionaries were not bad people. That's what Auntie Edith stressed too. They were good people. What their descendants later on did, well, you want to kill half of them. But but even at Punahou School, which was really interesting, we do have our legacy students. And on campus, we have buildings named after the Cooks, the Thurstons, the Castles, and all this kind of stuff. Last year was the first time that we actually started to teach a Hawaiian history course at our campus. We haven't taught Hawaiian history all these years because it was so controversial because of the Thurstons and the Castles, and you know that. But what I used to tell my students when they're in my classes, you are not responsible for anything that was done generations before you. That's why you come to school to learn about not only things, but your own self. You are a self-made person, you come to school. Yeah, that might be your relative, but this is one thing we have to remember at Punahou School. The land was given over by Ali'i. And because of our spring, that spring was actually because of divine providence from the god Kane. So from Kane, we have Kapunahou. Then we have the lands of Punahou come under the Ali'i. It was given by Ali'i to the missionaries. And we needed these buildings from the Castle family, the Cook family, the Thurston. We needed these buildings so that we can create the school that we're in. So everybody has a place for good. And it's not where you were, it's where you're going. And even if you don't know where you're going, just remember something from Kumu Kimo Keaolana. The unaimed arrow never misses. You're gonna whack something.
Kimo, I just love your presentation on Punahou School. I have such a greater appreciation for um, the history of Punahou, but then also what Punahou does today and continues to do. They have such a rich history, and I never ever realized that until you shared all the pictures. And I know Malia Ane personally. She was my neighbor when growing up in Kailua. Her family,
Oh, yes.
her mother was a teacher, her father was a football coach, and we had such wonderful times together. But I always just thought of them as, going to a haole school, and it was all howlies over there. But
Yeah, all holies and rich, crazy Asians.
but when I listen to what you shared today, I have such a much deeper appreciation for Punahou School. I really do.
Oh,
So
thank
thank
you.
you, not just for sharing the doxology, but the history of the doxology and where it came from, and all the people that helped to create this wonderful environment where the doxology was created from. So thank you again.
You're welcome. And the doxology, I can say that it's sung every single day at Punahou School.
Mm.
Every day, whether it's in a class or whether it's in the chapel. But these are daily activities. So the doxology is something that is normal in Punahou culture.
So Lorna, this is Roberta. Kimo,
Mm.
thank you so much for your
You're
class. I really
welcome.
appreciated that. Um, doxology was also part of the culture at Kamehameha schools when we
Yes.
had sit-down meals. By the time chemo came around, maybe there weren't any sit-down meals. I mean, you're so much
No,
younger.
we still had,
No,
10
we
to a
had.
table. Yeah. You have the faculty member, the
Yeah,
host, and you pass the plates up. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. We still had. You're right.
yeah,
You're right.
But I don't
yeah.
remember singing the doxology at lunchtime at all.
Oh, we had to
Did a
sing the
prayer only, yeah?
doxology.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
did the prayer, but we never sang the doxology. I don't ever remember singing the doxology on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-uh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even at Coliseum, yeah, we really didn't, yeah.
No,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did
it's
back in the day.
it
I
slowly
think Jimmy
drifted
would
away.
remember that too. I don't know, boys' school, you were boys' school. So, yeah. But
Well,
Kimo, thank you very much. As you were speaking in regards to our makuas, our grandparents, I can remember my grandmother getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to read her Bible.
mm,
Oof.
That was part of her life. She always read the Bible, and it was always something that was a part of her. And I couldn't understand that as a young person, even though I was going to church at Kaumakapili. But that was how she was raised in her family, to
Oh.
look to her God for strength, and not to the old gods, but to the God up there in heaven. Thank you so much, Kimo. Would you like to turn off your PowerPoint, and then we can see your handsome face and everybody else's?
Oh, okay, let's see. How is this gonna happen?
Just do the stop share, but where
Yeah,
is it?
stop
Okay.
share.
Was